Eileen.
Eileen. We're going to answer Eileen's question in a second.
Yeah.
We're going to attempt, yes.
Yeah.
I believe that Hashem hides the most in gender.
Hides the most?
In gender.
Gender.
Male, female.
Gender.
And obviously the Zohar talks about it and all the mysticism talks about it. Nobody talks about it in human form that much. You're the first person that I've heard that really touched it a little bit. Do you have any take on why in society homosexuality has exploded in society today? And lesbianism and the
I have a take.
Transgenderism, it's exploded.
Some people might, well,
I have
a take.
Tons of Jews are doing it. Curious, what's going on, what's happening up in...
Okay, so first, Eileen, we see this is the reality we live in. Just like the color spectrum and the sound spectrum, there's things we don't hear over here and don't see. This is all we see, this is all we hear. But we know that there's stuff beyond. So we know that there's a whole, what we call the spiritual dimension above and beyond what we see with our eyes and what we experience in our physical bodies. So, it could very well be that there are times we have a tradition of it's called the 10 martyrs, that they were masters and masters of the physical plane, and they could have stopped the Romans from doing what they were doing, but they asked Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol to go up to Shamayim to find out if they were permitted. They didn't want to do anything unless it was permitted, if they were given permission. He came back and said, it is decreed. You have to die. And your death will be a very powerful tikkun. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yehuda ben Elkanah, all these 10 martyrs, and it's a very powerful teaching that they surrendered. They said, okay, but we have a definite tradition that they could have made havoc for the Romans with their spiritual powers. They bowed to the higher power, the higher or bigger plan. Not an easy one, because from down here, death seems so final, and we lose people. But you have to also admit that we have a very special relationship with people, that while they're alive, we want them to be alive as much as possible, and Judaism certainly emphasizes life more than any other teaching on the planet, every second of life. But when, at the moment of transition, and certainly for those who are mourning the days following the death, there's a sense, at least in houses I've been in, of they've gone where they need to go. They're no longer limited by the body. So we have that as part and parcel of our lives. And I tried to bring it out in my talk yesterday, where I quoted Rabbi Kaplan about the Holocaust. So I don't think I have. I don't think anybody has any right to say that we have the final answer. But Gilgul, incarnation, the fact that we are souls, that we come from above, that we've come down into this world, is part, at least for me, of an important way of looking at things. It gives me the ability to handle tragedy. Of course, I want only life for myself, my family, my people, for people I love, people I know, and for all of us. We are life givers. We are life wanters. It's natural by us. We don't want death. We don't want it. There's a whole religion on the planet now that's not exactly like us. That's another big question. Homosexuality and the rise of a religion that is death-oriented, that's taken death and made it into a glorification not only of dying for one's belief, but of killing for one's belief, which is not martyrdom. It's a distortion of the concept of martyrdom. Yeah.
What about mine?
Yeah, I'm going to get to his question too.
I wanted to answer David's question.
Oh, I want to rub high.
No, she has the answer also.
Okay. You might be interested in reading a book, Our Stolen Future. It basically pesticides and pollutants and food additives are estrogenic.
Oh, true, I heard that.
And this sexual orientation is changing among animals also to a noticeable extent.
That's pretty awesome.
But that's just the science, that's the mechanism, but there's a reason above that, which, what do I know?
Thank you.
Well,
what's your name?
Nehemiah Poland.
Nehemiah Poland?
Yeah.
Well, it's his cousin.
My cousin.
Shalom Aleichem.
Well, first of all, I think according to Kabbalah, it says that the 10 martyrs were Gilgul, reincarnation
of the 10 brothers
of Joseph, right?
Right.
The brothers of Joseph. But also it's about referring to, like, why is all this homosexuality coming out now? It's not just a matter of sexual perversion. There's perversion in the area of business and finance and politics. You know, there is a concept that as we approach Mashiach, all the schmutz is going to come out, and people are going to go through great embarrassment as a cleansing process to enter the Messianic era.
Greece, there was a lot of homosexuality. Rome, especially at the end, saw a lot of homosexuality. Nazi Germany, okay. Maybe a homosexual doesn't want to hear this. What's the spiritual teaching behind this, without judging people? What do you want to say?
It also says, I think, in the Medrash, that the reason why there was a great flood, one of the reasons why, is that there was same-sex marriage licenses. I think it also says that there was marriage committed between man and animal.
Well, yeah, there was animal stuff like this. Okay. So, it's a hard issue, and again, anybody who has any sensitivity to this, don't walk out. We're not...
Gay bashing.
We're not bashing here. No.
Bashing.
We're not bashing.
Bashing.
Thank you very much.
Bashing. Bashing.
Right, we're not
yeah.
bashing. Have no need, no desire to bash anybody or anything.
My question just was like a spiritual.
Okay, but first of all, I have to mention that Stanford University put out a call for articles about this, and they did a very strange thing. They only accepted articles that were pro, and they didn't accept the articles that were a little bit like questioning. And those articles were taken by Regent University in Virginia, a Christian university. I saw those articles and I contacted the head of law, of family law there, a wonderful woman, and we corresponded for a while. And those articles, one of them was called Selling Homosexuality to America, something like that. Very well done, and long articles, well done, very, very, not in any way bashing, just trying to get down to what happened with the American Society of what is it called, the American Psychological Society or whatever it's called, right? And how that bell curve at one point did not consider gay as part of the curve, and then something happened, and it happened in a strange political way behind the scenes, that it became part and parcel of an accepted way of life. And then it was a marketing scheme. Basically, it's a marketing scheme. That's what it claims.
The American Medical Association said at one time that it was a disorder.
Right,
and then 4 years later, they said it's not a
so they focus in on how that change happened and what was going on behind the scenes.
Marketing what?
A marketing system for making something that was, until now, a closet thing, an acceptable, normal way of life. Putting posters up, people in films, a lot of lobbying in Congress, then a lot of power against companies who would not, right, and it became, over the last 25 years, a very powerful force in our society. And it's an amazing thing. And there are very good people. There's a lot of dark stuff behind the scenes in psychologist's office. There's a lot of stuff in stores. You go into stores, the paraphernalia that are sold there are very dark. There's a lot of darkness in that sexuality, but again, I want to get to the spiritual thing behind it, and that's where I'm going now. In other words, I have no problem hugging. I mean, I always hug men. Men have to hug each other, or meaning to say, it's a very positive and good thing for men to know that they can hug each other and really feel close to each other. And there's no homosexual sense there. Or it's a healthy outlet for what you might want to call latent homosexuality. If you need to call it that, but it's really not that.
We don't need to.
Okay, but anyway, the teachings of the Ari, the Zohar, and even more in the Ari, about Adam and Eve, all have to do with sexuality. The Ari says that Eve, there was no apple, or nobody says there's an apple really. There was different fruits, but the Ari says that the prohibition was for Adam and Eve to have relations before Shabbat, and that they chose precisely to do that. Adam chose to have relations with his wife before Shabbat. The coming together of male and female. It was a time-bound thing. It was just waiting for Shabbat. It was the equivalent of having relations with one's fiancé before the chuppah and before mikvah. And so it was a negative charge on Chava, as opposed to irradiating her with his energy and uplifting her into total oneness with him again, of a different nature than that. And I don't know how to use the word sometimes. It's a hard one. I need to know that you're not going to react. I'm really tongue-tied. What I really want to say is that it's based on the Malbim, the Ari, and a few sources that there was male power and female power here. There was God in creation, so to speak. Adam is in a sense Zeir Anpin, and Chava is Malchut. And Adam's job is to enter into Chava and uplift her into himself, into a higher level. That's what I meant, is it's a little delicate. I'm not sure I'm explaining it the right way, and if it's wrong, please forgive me, but don't jump. That it's somehow the perfection of male-female. Okay, whatever the case, I want to get past this. They didn't wait. Instead of uplifting, there was a descent into physicality. They weren't physical beings as we know them. It's just like I gotta roll this out a little bit before I'm happy. Or maybe I can bypass it a little bit. And for the moment, something happened there on Erev Shabbat. As a result, they weren't able to get into the level that they would have been able to get into. And as a result, Adam split off from Chava. For the next 130 years, according to the Ari, Adam emitted seed without his wife.
Where did we get that information?
No, it's in the...
You have it mentioned in a lot of places. Rabbi Kaplan brings it down in his book, The Waters of Eden, that Adam sat in the river Gihon, which was outside of the Garden of Eden, during those years, because he kept having seminal emissions, and he wanted to purify himself in the mikveh waters of the Gihon. So the Ari goes into this deeply. I don't have my books here. I didn't bring my iPad with my books in them either.
That led to the creation of those spiritual negative beings, perhaps we call them.
They were very... the Ari goes into this, and they're not called negative beings, but definitely there were disembodied